Hello there you beautiful people, and welcome to this video where we're going to be getting you set up with your very own Linux virtual machine running a specific flavor of Linux called Ubuntu. So flavors of Linux are called distributions in the Linux lingo, and we're going to be getting you set up with the Ubuntu distribution of Linux for your VirtualBox virtual machines. So what I want you to do is I want you to head over to www.ubuntu.com/download/desktop. I will be putting a link in the resources section for this video, or you could just head over to your favorite search engine and search for Ubuntu download, and it'll be the first link that comes up. And when you click on it, you'll find a page that looks like this. Now what I want you to do is going to give you multiple options of what version of Ubuntu you want to download, but I want you to click on the most up-to-date option. So for example, here I've got Ubuntu 17.10. Now an interesting thing, you can actually tell when the Ubuntu releases were released by just looking at the version numbers. So here I can tell that it was released in 2017 in the 10th month, which would be October. But up here, for example, I can see that this was released in 2016 in the 4th month, which is going to be April. So the more up-to-date version numbers mean they were released later on. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to click well, I am anyway. I'm going to click on Ubuntu 17.10, but you just click on whatever is most up-to-date for you. It will not affect your experience of the course. The entire course will be the same for you regardless whatever version you pick, but you may as well have the most up-to-date version. So I'm going to click download, and it's going to open up another page where it's going to ask me for a few donations, but I'm going to say, unfortunately, that I'm not going to donate any money here today, and I'm just going to be taken to the download, but you feel free to do whatever you want to do. Okay, and then it's going to start to download what's called a disk image file to my computer. Now I'm going to save it in the downloads folder for myself. You can download it wherever you want, and you'll notice that a download starts to begin. Now these ISO files usually tend to be quite large, usually on the order of gigabytes. So you can see here that this is 1.4 gigabytes in size. So this might take quite a while depending on how quick your internet is. Now I'm going to have to wait for that to go ahead and download. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the video here, and I'm going to come back when it has downloaded. So just be patient with this. You won't ever have to really do it again. So once it's done, it's done. So just wait for that thing to download and then unpause the video to follow through with the rest of the setup. Okay, so the download has gone and completed, and now I can go ahead and install the virtual machine. So you can see that we've got this disk image file saved in my downloads folder, and with that there, we're going to go ahead and open up VirtualBox. Now with VirtualBox, this is where you can set up virtual machines to run, and you can have more than one. So we're just going to create a new virtual machine. I'm going to call it Ubuntu because I am imaginative, and call it, and you can see it's found the type, which is Linux, and Ubuntu 64-bit, which is what my one was. If yours was a 32-bit download, then go ahead and click Ubuntu 32-bit, but I think by default it should be a 64-bit, so I'll leave it at that. Now I'm going to hit next, and it's going to ask me for the amount of memory or RAM in megabytes to be allocated to the virtual machine. Now an important thing to notice here, that this is only allocated when the virtual machine is running. When you close the virtual machine, it will be given back to the host computer. So don't worry about this too much. Just give it a generous amount. So let's say about 3/4 or 80% of the green distance. You don't want to go all the way up to here because this might make your system stutter a bit and jitter a bit. So just take it most of the way up to the green, to the end of the green, but not all the way. So leave some buffer room there. Okay. So I'm going to leave it at that. Just do it by eye. This isn't a perfect science. Just go ahead and do it by eye. Then it's going to ask you about a hard disk. Now, what you've got to imagine is that this virtual machine thinks that it's a computer, okay? And a computer needs a hard drive space, okay? So what we're doing is we're creating an imaginary hard drive that this virtual machine is going to think is a real hard drive, but it's actually just a file saved on our actual computer. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a virtual hard disk now. So let's create it, and it says what type do you want it to be. Just leave it as the first option, a VirtualBox disk image. Leave it just like that, and then it's going to say do you want the file data to be dynamically allocated or fixed size. Dynamically allocated means that when the data fills up on that imaginary hard drive, the file will get bigger. Fixed size means that the file will be that size no matter what, even if it's basically empty. Now for efficiency's sake, let's just have it dynamically allocated, and then you can call it whatever you want and store it wherever you want by clicking this this arrow here to change where you want to save it, but just leave it as the default if you're not particularly fussed. And it doesn't really matter massively how much size you give it. I tend to just give mine 20 gigabytes. That's usually more than enough. But you can just choose what's all right for you. It's you know, as long as you've got something above 1 or 2 gigabytes, you should be absolutely fine. So I'm just going to have 20 gigabytes there as an imaginary hard disk, and I'm going to click create. Okay, so we're almost there now. We're very, very close. All we've got to do is click on settings to set up a few more things. So to make sure that our virtual machine has just a bit more power, what we're going to do is we're going to click on settings, go to system, and click processor, the processor tab, and increase this to 2 cores if you have them, so 2 processors, or up to the end of the green here. So what I'm going to do, that just basically allows the virtual machine to just have that bit more performance. Okay, and everything else should be the same, except when you click on storage, there's one final thing to do. So on storage, this is where we're going to basically insert that disk image, so that you can imagine the imaginary computer booting from that Ubuntu image into a real computer. Okay, it's a bit confusing, but just follow with me. Just click on storage, then you'll see this bit here where it says controller IDE, and it will have a disk that says empty. Okay, so click that, then click on this disk at the top right, click that, and it'll say choose virtual optical disk file. So let's click that. Then we'll go to my downloads folder and click our Ubuntu 17.10 disk image that we downloaded, or whatever disk image version that you downloaded, your Ubuntu version. Click open, and now that's all set up. Click OK, and we're basically all good to go. So that's all set up ready to go, and in the next video we're going to run you through the final bit of the installation, which is setting up the actual Ubuntu machine when it boots up. So for all that goodness, I'll see you in the next video.